on the evening of 19th January 2010, in the bright, over-air-conditioned lobby of the Al Bustan Rotana Hotel in Al Garhoud, near Dubai International Airport, a man in a dark jacket crosses the marble floor with a small wheeled bag. Later, Dubai police will freeze this frame in a 29-minute CCTV compilation, the caption identifying him as Mahmoud al-Mabhouh. Arrival time 2025, destination floor 2. Behind him, two men in tennis shirts and white towels step into the same elevator, eyes lowered, their plastic keycards already programmed for a room across the corridor. In the footage, nothing breaks the illusion of a normal business stopover. Hotel staff checking screens at the front desk, guests scrolling through phones, suitcase wheels ticking over tile. In less than an hour, according to forensic reports, a muscle relaxant, an electronic lock log, and a pillow will turn this corridor into a crime scene. In early January 2010, inside secure offices in Tel Aviv, a long-running file is reopened. It belongs to Mahmoud al-Mabhouh, born in 1961 in Gaza, co-founder of the Izz ad-Din al-Qassam Brigades, and in Israeli intelligence records, a man linked to the 1989 abduction and killing of IDF soldiers Avi Sasportas and Ilan Saadon. According to Israeli and international reporting, al-Mabhouh has carried a Mossad kill authorization since the late 1980s. Investigative accounts describe how, after several failed attempts on his life, the operation targeting him in Dubai would be internally codenamed Plasma Screen, approved by Mossad chief Mir Dagan and requiring final sign-off from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Elsewhere in the record, a different narrative exists. In an Al Jazeera interview recorded months before his death, al-Mabhouh himself appears masked, recounting with pride his role in the 1989 kidnappings and the disguise he used to lure the soldiers into his car. For Israeli families, his name on the authorization represents delayed revenge. For Hamas, he is a military founder under constant threat. The paperwork in Tel Aviv reduces all of this to a decision line and a signature. In the file, it is an operation number. In the field, it will become a body on a hotel bed. The authorization that moves in seconds through a secure fax will take 21 years to reach a locked door in Dubai. At 6:30 on 18th January 2010, a first cluster of passengers from Frankfurt, Rome, Zurich, and Paris steps off separate flights into Dubai International Airport's Terminal 3, Emirates' glass and steel hub, where immigration lines move quickly and cameras record everything. Later analysis will match their faces to at least 26 suspects sought by Dubai police. Interpol red notices will follow. Travel data and CCTV reconstruction show the team splintering into small units. Some book into business hotels where al-Mabhouh has stayed before. Others take rooms near the airport and shopping malls, paying in cash or with prepaid debit cards routed through an American bank and a New York-based company called Payoneer. Investigators later trace at least 14 such cards, issued by Metabank and linked back to Payoneer's systems. The teams carry European passports: British, Irish, French, German, Australian, identities later denounced by those governments as forged or fraudulently obtained. One operative travels under the name Michael Bodenheimer, tied to a genuine German passport later linked to Israeli agent Uri Brodsky in a separate European investigation. Across the city, they begin what looks, on camera, like tourism. Rolling suitcases, checking in, stepping through lobby doors. The plastic keycard appears for the first time, sliding into hotel readers, creating the electronic traces that will later allow investigators to rebuild the day to the minute. The tradecraft is disciplined, but not flawless. Some faces reappear across the multiple trips in 2009 and 2010, cycling through the same hotels and the same immigration hall. By midnight on the 18th, nearly all of the surveillance architecture that will frame the killing is already running, and none of it belongs to the assassins. On 19th of January 2010, at 15:20, flight records show Mahmoud al-Mabhouh landing in Dubai on a short hop from Damascus, a stopover en route to Sudan and China, where according to Israeli and Western sources, he is expected to continue negotiations on arms shipments bound for Gaza. The airport CCTV, later edited into Dubai Police's public compilation, catches him walking into the arrivals hall with a carry-on bag. Behind him, members of the hit squad begin tailing him almost immediately, maintaining loose visual contact while remaining within the flow of ordinary travelers. When he reaches the Al Bustan Rotana in Al Garhoud, he checks in under an assumed name, a practice he reportedly uses routinely. Hotel systems record him assigned to room 230. Within minutes, according to Dubai's deputy police chief and later analytical reconstructions, an operative calling himself Peter Elvinger telephones the front desk from another hotel to reserve room 237 directly opposite. The booking is secured with a credit card later flagged as part of the same Payoneer Metabank trail. At check-in, the clerk encodes a thin keycard with 230. The plastic rectangle is passed across polished marble and dropped into a leather wallet. On CCTV, it is almost invisible. A flick of fingers, a flash of white. Yet it represents the first moment the operation and the target share a single fixed coordinate. In the evening notes back in Damascus and Gaza, the trip is logged as routine business. In Dubai Police's logs, it becomes the first line of a homicide file. By the time the LEDs on the lock of room 230 blink green for the first time, another key for the door across the corridor is already waiting in someone else's hand. To understand why a hotel keycard in Dubai matters, the narrative must shift back to February and May of 1989 in Israel's southern district. Military archives and later court records describe the abductions and killings of IDF soldiers Avi Sasportas and Ilan Saadon, both seized while hitchhiking and later found dead. Israeli and academic sources identify a Hamas unit headed by Mahmoud al-Mabhouh as responsible. In an Al Jazeera Arabic interview broadcast in early February 2010, al-Mabhouh, face covered, confirms his role and outlines the deception, disguising himself and an accomplice as Orthodox Jews to lure the soldiers into their car. The clip becomes an archival anchor, presenting the target in his own words as both tactician and ideologue, decades before the Dubai operation. Over the following years, intelligence assessments link him not only to those killings, but to arms procurement from Iran, particularly weapons smuggling into Gaza, a role Israeli security officials frame as a strategic threat. Mossad's internal numbering system reportedly places his file alongside those of other long-term targets. He survives at least 3 previous assassination attempts. In Hamas publications and funerary rhetoric, he is framed differently. A co-founder, a commander, a martyr in waiting. His dual image, family man in Damascus, blood-stained enemy in Israeli discourse, sets the moral frame of the Dubai hit. The dossier that underpins Operation Plasma Screen is therefore not built on a single mall visit or one trip to Dubai. It is built on 2 bodies in 1989, on years of intercepted calls, and on weapons shipments that never appear in public footage. By the time he signs into the Al Bustan Rotana under an alias, the man in room 230 has been living with an open death order for more than 20 years. In the late afternoon of 19th of January 2010, hotel and mall cameras record al-Mabhouh leaving the Al Bustan Rotana and visiting 2 shopping centers, where he eats and buys a pair of shoes. These activities are later logged by Dubai police and summarized in international press timelines. On screen, he looks like any other middle-aged businessman on a stopover. At the same time, surveillance teams inside Dubai are shifting positions. Two men dressed as tennis players, towels over their shoulders, wait in the Al Bustan lobby for hours before following the target into the elevator, staying close enough to see which button he presses. Other operatives, dressed as tourists with shopping bags or in what appear to be hotel staff uniforms, rotate through vantage points in corridors and at entrance doors. Phone records, later analyzed by Dubai investigators and open-source researchers, show that team members use short-range communication devices on the ground and route longer calls through a cluster of numbers registered in Austria, creating distance between handsets in Dubai and any command presence elsewhere. No direct calls between the suspects are recorded. All significant traffic passes through that foreign hub. On the surface, these are mundane days in a global city. Flights landing, taxis lined up, hotel breakfast buffets being reset. Underneath, two daily routines are running in parallel. One built around shopping and meetings, one built around keycards, elevators, and camera angles. The same glass doors and polished floors serve both. The cameras record everything, but say nothing. Silence, in this case, is an operational asset and an investigative gift. At 15:25, the airport cameras show Al-Mabhouh walking alone. At the same minute, someone in the lobby of his future hotel is already checking the light above his room number. While Dubai accumulates CCTV clips, other systems are logging the same hours differently. On 19th of January 2010, telecommunications records captured by Dubai police later reveal clusters of short calls and SMS messages bouncing between prepaid phones in the city and several numbers in Vienna. Analysts interpret these as links to an external coordination node, possibly a command or relay center. Financial transaction logs show prepaid MasterCard cards, issued by Metabank and distributed via Payoneer, paying for hotel rooms and airline tickets in the names later exposed by Dubai police. American and European media trace the corporate paths back to a small office in New York and to an R&D center in Tel Aviv, igniting debates about banking compliance and deniability. In Jerusalem, political coverage notes a familiar pattern: Israel declining to confirm or deny involvement. Former Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni calling the killing good news for those fighting terrorism, even as allied governments protest the misuse of their passports. The operation's visible layer is a corridor and a keycard. Its invisible layer is call routing, payment architecture, and the quiet cooperation or blind eyes of companies and states. The plastic hotel key is only one node in a much larger network of authorizations, algorithms, and bank servers. In later analyses of the Dubai case, counterintelligence experts point to this mesh as both a strength and a weakness. Robust enough to move dozens of people without a single gunshot in public. Fragile enough that a handful of transaction logs and camera feeds could unravel it. By nightfall, the last hotel payment has cleared and the last Vienna call has been placed. The only system still unaware of what is coming is the one behind the lock of room 230. As evening approaches on 19th of January 2010, hotel electronic logs later examined by Dubai police record unusual activity. Around 30 minutes before the killing, the electronic lock of room 230 is accessed and reprogrammed so that it will open to an unregistered key card. A technical specialist, traveling as part of the team, is believed to have entered the room while the target was away, adjusting the lock for a card not issued at the front desk. CCTV images show a man, traveling under the alias Peter Elvinger, arriving at the Al Bustan lobby at 16:27, wheeling a small suitcase. He checks in, receives the key for room 237, then is seen handing that key to another operative, Kevin Daveron, before leaving the hotel without the suitcase. From this point, room 237 becomes the suspected staging area for the hit team. Later that afternoon and early evening, 4 more men arrive in pairs, wearing baseball caps and carrying bags, heading directly to the second floor. Investigators believe these 4 form the core assassination team who will wait behind the reprogrammed door. On the monitors at the hotel security desk, the second-floor corridor looks as it always does: narrow, carpeted, anonymous. The only visible difference is the flow of people around rooms 230 and 237, and the repeated insertion of keycards into slots that light briefly green. From an operational perspective, this is the pivotal movement. The translation of weeks of surveillance and years of dossier building into a single physical choke point. A door that now opens for the wrong card. At the moment the lock accepts its new code, the operation stops being about tracking a man and becomes about controlling a room. Hotel logs and Dubai Police's public timeline place Al-Mabhou's return to the second floor of the Al Bustan Rotani at approximately 20:25 on 19th of January 2010. CCTV shows him leaving the elevator alone and walking down the corridor towards room 230. 20 minutes later, cameras record 4 suspects leaving the same corridor in the opposite direction. In between, there is no visual record. The door itself is outside the camera's frame. Forensic reports, later summarized by Dubai officials and international media, converge on the method. A fast-acting muscle relaxant, succinylcholine, is injected into his leg, causing paralysis without immediate loss of consciousness. He is then suffocated, most likely with a pillow, in a way designed to resemble sudden natural death during sleep. Traces of the drug appear in toxicology reports. Bruising and other signs suggest a brief struggle before he loses the ability to move. Different outlets and officials offer slightly different combinations, electrical shocks, other sedatives, but all agree on the core sequence: pharmacological incapacitation, mechanical suffocation, and staging of the body. Dubai's coroner later calls it one of the most challenging cases his department has faced, precisely because it was meant to look like nothing at all. Inside the room, there are no confirmed transcripts of words spoken, no public photographs taken by the killers that have surfaced. The only certain sounds are the click of the keycard, the closing of the door, the movements described indirectly by bruises and lab results, and the eventual silence. For the operation, these 19 minutes, or less, constitute success. For everyone else connected to the file, they will become an unanswerable gap between 2 CCTV stills. According to Dubai's timeline, less than 10 minutes after the suspected killers leave room 230, some of them begin checking out of the hotel. Within hours, many are at Dubai International Airport, boarding flights to Europe and Asia, Germany, France, Hong Kong among the destinations. CCTV follows them through doors once more, leaving the second floor, crossing the lobby, passing duty-free displays, lining up at departure gates. Their disguises, wigs, glasses, false beards, shift slightly, but the key identifying data now lies in travel and payment records. Analysts later note that the squad's professionalism in the operation's tactical execution is undercut by the repetition of faces, hotels, and routes across multiple Dubai trips. Hotel staff see nothing unusual. A guest returning late to a neighboring room might register only the soft sound of luggage wheels over carpet. At the Al Bustan's front desk, keycards are dropped into a box, their magnetic strips still carrying the codes that will later be pulled as evidence. By the early hours of 20th of January, the hit team is gone from Dubai's territory. The body in room 230 is not yet discovered. For several hours, the city's CCTV systems hold the only integrated record that something irreversible has occurred. Operationally, this phase represents the exfiltration, the last piece of what some intelligence observers will later call a near-perfect hit, if judged solely by the criteria of entry, kill, and exit. When the hotel's electronic system automatically deactivates the keycard for room 230 at checkout time, it does so for a guest who has already ceased to exist in the way the system understands him. On 20th of January 2010, cleaning staff at the Al Bustan Rotana attempt to access room 230 after the Do Not Disturb status persists beyond the expected time. When there is no response, hotel security uses a master keycard to enter. They find Al-Mabhouh dead on the bed. Initially, the assumption recorded in hotel and early police reports is natural causes. A man in his late 40s on a business trip, suffering a sudden health event. Hamas's political leadership issues a statement describing his death as the result of a sudden illness, while its military wing refers to a health setback under investigation. The body is transported, and an autopsy is ordered. Only after toxicology tests return and injuries are closely examined do Dubai authorities publicly reclassify the case as homicide, citing evidence of poisoning and suffocation. The coroner later explains that the operation was intentionally designed to mirror a peaceful, solitary death during sleep. That intention forces his department into a detailed reconstruction, turning a hotel room into a layered forensic puzzle of injection marks, muscle breakdown, and minute abrasions. For the hotel workers who open the door, the human impact is immediate and unfiltered. For the public, the news emerges slowly. First as a vague report of a Hamas figure dead abroad, then as a story of passports, cameras, and an invisible hit team. In the police file, the first photograph of the scene shows a bed, a body, and a small plastic card still sitting in a slot by the door, its tiny LED no longer glowing. In the space of 10 days, the death certificate line "sudden illness" will be overwritten by a different conclusion: deliberate suffocation disguised as sleep. By 15th of February 2010, Lieutenant General Dahi Khalfan Tamim, head of the Dubai Police, steps in front of cameras to present a carefully edited CCTV narrative of the previous month. The compilation, nearly half an hour long, stitches together footage from the airport, malls, and hotels to trace the movements of up to 26 suspects in the 19 hours leading up to the killing. Still frames show the tennis players in the lobby, the bald man with a wig in a corridor, pairs entering elevators with towels and shopping bags, and finally, the assassins exiting the second-floor hallway after the estimated time of death. The video transforms what was meant to be a silent, deniable operation into an almost cinematic spectacle of coordinated movement. In interviews, Tamim states he is 99%, if not 100% certain that Mossad is responsible, and later says he is completely sure. He calls on Interpol to assist in seeking arrest warrants not only for field operatives, but, symbolically, for senior Israeli officials. Interpol issues red notices for some of the suspects. More names follow. Outside the Gulf, the video becomes material for art and analysis. The research collective Forensic Architecture later uses it in its project Face Scripting. What did the building see? Arguing that the architecture and camera placement themselves edited the event into a specific visual narrative. The footage anonymouses almost nothing. Faces, heights, gates, hotel carpets, elevator mirrors. But it cannot show motive, authorization chains, or what happened in the seconds when the door closed. That gap becomes the enduring space for speculation, diplomacy, and denial. Once the video is uploaded, the same corridor that was supposed to erase the killer's presence becomes the corridor through which millions of viewers follow them in slow motion. As the faces and aliases spread across international media in February and March 2010, governments in Britain, Ireland, Germany, France, and Australia confirmed that the passports shown on screen involve stolen or fraudulently obtained identities, many belonging to Israeli dual citizens who wake up to find themselves named as assassins in Dubai. Diplomatic expulsions follow. Ambassadors are summoned to explain. Parallel investigations trace the financial infrastructure of the operation. Dubai police publicly linked the preloaded debit cards used by many suspects to Medibank in Iowa and Payoneer in New York, noting that at least 14 cards from the same issuer funded hotels and flights. Payoneer acknowledges cooperation with authorities while denying prior knowledge of any plot. In Poland in June 2010, authorities arrest an Israeli national, widely reported as Uri Brodsky, accused of helping obtain the genuine German passport in the name Michael Bodenheimer used by one operative. After extradition to Germany and legal proceedings, he ultimately returns to Israel. But the case cements the link between Mossad, the fraudulent passport, and the Dubai hit in public perception. Inside Israel. Reporting later describes Mossad Director Mir Dagan acknowledging, in retrospect, that sending a team with those passports was a mistake, one he personally owned. His tenure as spy master ends later that year. For the operational personnel, most of whom remain publicly unnamed, the Dubai case becomes a cautionary example in intelligence circles. A tactically efficient termination whose logistical fingerprints triggered a global backlash. Accounts of units like Kaidan, the Mossad team widely believed to carry out such operations, emphasize the psychological strain and the short contracts given to operatives. Behind each stolen identity is a family dealing with unwanted exposure. Behind each keycard swipe is a career that may have quietly ended in the months that followed. Years after 19th January 2010, the Al Bustan Rotana continues to host conferences, layovers, and weekend stays. Guests step into the same elevators filmed in the Dubai police compilation, roll their luggage down the same corridor, and slide keycards into locks that now belong to different room numbers. For Hamas, al-Mabhouh becomes another martyr on posters and in speeches. His image framed in green, his death cited as proof of Israeli reach and hostility. For families of Avis Asportas and Ilan Sayadon, interviewed in Israeli media, there is a different tone. One mother speaks of a measure of closure, shadowed by the 2 decades it took to arrive. In Israel's intelligence community, the Dubai case joins a long list of operations studied in training rooms. A reminder that even successful kills can carry strategic costs. Subsequent reporting on Mossad's assassination campaigns often places the Al Bustan operation alongside earlier and later hits as an inflection point, where ubiquitous surveillance and international scrutiny began to close some of the spaces in which such teams once moved. For the operatives who planned or executed the mission, if the accounts from former officers and journalists are accurate, the psychological impact is harder to quantify. Analyses of units like Kaidan emphasize repeated psychological evaluations, short operational careers, and the cumulative effect of living under legends that must never be acknowledged in public. The Dubai operation, exposed in slow motion to the world, complicates that silence. In one Dubai evidence locker, somewhere behind a barred door, there is reportedly an envelope containing electronic lock logs and recovered keycards associated with room 230. They are minor exhibits in a closed case file, plastic rectangles that no longer open anything. The first image in this narrative was a man walking down a hotel corridor, sliding a card into a lock under fluorescent light. The last is that same card, sealed in evidence, no longer a tool of access. Only a reminder of what access can cost.